We are turning our attention today to a remarkably complex and I think intensely compelling figure whose work really defined a very specific era of cinematic menace. I'm talking about the American character actor, Peter Greene.
That's right. And it's a very timely exploration. Peter Greene, who was born Peter Greene, passed away recently on December 12, 2025. He was 60 years old.
Mm.
And the source material we're working from here is essentially a very comprehensive biographical entry. It lays out his entire trajectory, the raw intensity he brought to his roles, and also the very substantial, often just overwhelming personal battles he was fighting off screen.
So our focus for this exploration is pretty clear. We're going to analyze this material to really understand not just his filmography, but the powerful human story behind that face, that instantly recognizable on-screen presence. Because
Right.
Greene had such a profound and, well, an immediate impact on Hollywood, especially in the 1990s. It felt like he just exploded onto the scene.
He really did. And it's essential to frame that impact by acknowledging that it was rooted almost entirely in his ability to portray the heavy brute, the antagonist, who felt utterly, and I mean utterly authentic.
Absolutely. When you think of Peter Greene's career, you're immediately drawn to that time, his time as the quintessential movie villain. He was the guy who commanded genuine fear, often through just sheer physical presence or a really unnerving calm.
hmm
He is, for so many people, inextricably linked to that incredible defining period of 1994 and 1995.
That brief snapshot in the mid-90s is, well, it's inescapable for anyone who was watching movies back then. I mean, within a single calendar year, he became known for two dramatically different but equally memorable antagonists.
Okay, so let's start there. The first one.
First, he was Dorian Tyrell. He was a slick, high-level gangster, the main villain driving the whole conflict against Jim Carrey in the huge blockbuster comedy The Mask. That was 1994.
And then, in the very same year, he delivered the role that I think for many people remains the most unsettling, Zed, the sadistic, almost silent security guard from that infamous scene in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction.
And that pair of performances, I mean, the high wattage, almost cartoonish menace of Dorian Tyrell, and you contrast that with the raw, terrifying, really grounded threat of Zed.
Yeah.
They didn't just launch his career. They instantly set the parameters for his professional life.
Yeah.
They showcased his unique, unsettling ability to embody intense, unpredictable danger, and it didn't matter what the film's genre or tone was.
So if we look at this analysis in the broader context, what we hope to do for you, the listener, is to sort of reveal how a profoundly challenging personal history, a journey marked by documented homelessness and substance abuse, can actually become the crucible that forges an actor's most authentic performances.
Exactly. Especially when they're typecast as these complex antagonists.
Right.
This is so much more than just a summary of a career. It gives you a deeper insight into the inner workings of Hollywood casting, the industry's hunger for that authenticity, and the often very difficult, sometimes heartbreaking narrative that's running just beneath the surface of a public figure who was so consistently and often brilliantly typecast as the villain.
The resilience required to maintain a career while navigating all of that. It's a story that's really worth our attention.
It really is.
Okay, so let's unpack the craft of this specific character actor. Let's start with the roles that so rapidly established his niche. What's so striking about Peter Greene is that he didn't even start acting until his mid-20s. But once he arrived, it feels like he just hit the ground running at top speed.
Well, the records show his official film debut was in 1992 in a low-budget indie film called Laws of Gravity. But while that was his formal entry, the sources really demonstrate that the bulk of his defining, career-cementing roles all happened in this very compressed 2-year window between 93 and 95. This rapid succession of roles just established him almost instantly as the go-to 90s antagonist.
It's an incredibly dense period of work. In 1993, for instance, he gets a key villain role in the action thriller Judgment Night. He plays the character Sykes. And that role really positioned him as that gritty urban threat.
But 1993 also gave us a critical and I think often overlooked counterpoint to that villain identity. And that's his work in the independent film Clean Shaven.
Ah, yes.
Here, he played Peter Winter, a character grappling intensely with schizophrenia. The sources highlight this role as a really early indicator that his intensity wasn't just about external menace or physical threat. He could bring that raw, internalized struggle and fragility to the surface, too.
That's a crucial distinction to make. In Judgment Night, he's projecting all this threat outwards. But in Clean Shaven, he's portraying a profoundly uncomfortable internal instability. And that willingness to go to those dark, messy emotional places, whether as a villain or a damaged protagonist. It just suggests a deep capacity for accessing raw emotion.
It does. And if we look at the difference between those two breakout roles in '94, The Mask and Pulp Fiction,
Mm-hmm.
we see that whole spectrum put to immediate commercial use.
Right.
As Dorian Tyrell, he's broad, he's physically dominant, almost theatrical in his villainy, especially, when he puts on the mask. It's a performance that uses his whole body, that wide grin, to convey this larger-than-life evil.
But then you contrast that with Zed in Pulp Fiction. It's an entirely different kind of performance. It's so minimalist. He has very few lines, but he just radiates this quiet, horrific sadism. That scene, confined to the pawn shop basement, it relies entirely on the actor's ability to project absolute power and malice through stillness and just casual cruelty.
And what's fascinating about Zed is the economy of the performance. The director gave him simple physical tools, the motorcycle, the baseball cap, the uniform in green, just imbued them with this pure, unsettling menace.
He made the mundane terrifying.
That's it. That's the definition of a character actor synthesizing a challenging past into a terrifying screen presence. He made the mundane terrifying.
So after that defining year, 1995 just reinforces the archetype in several pretty high-profile projects. Beyond those iconic roles, 1995 saw him in Under Siege 2, Dark Territory as Mercenary Number 1.
A physical, military-style threat.
Yes. And then in The Usual Suspects, he appeared as Redfoot the Fence.
And he was uncredited for that performance, but the sources note its inclusion because it just reinforces his omnipresence. He was in almost every major era-defining crime film of that decade. Directors knew exactly what they were getting.
That particular look, right, that specific energy.
Yes, that projected this pure, unvarnished criminal threat, the man operating in the shadows.
So it raises an analytical question. Given how distinct his style was, what do the records show about the consistency of his typecasting? I mean, how frequently was he not the bad guy?
The records show the typecasting was frequent, deep, and very intentional. He was repeatedly cast as either the main villain, a major supporting antagonist, or someone who was just fundamentally morally compromised.
So some other examples.
Well, if we look further into his career, in 1996, he played Cole Wilson in The Rich Man's Wife. Then years later, 2001, he was cast in Training Day as Detective Jeff, a corrupt narcotics officer.
And that's a powerful distinction. He wasn't just cast as generic thugs. They were often men operating outside the law, or even more darkly, abusing their institutional power, like that role as the corrupt police detective.
Precisely. And this identity it carried over seamlessly into his television work. The material references his appearance in the premiere of the FX series Justified.
Right.
And a reviewer, Scott Tobias, characterized him as a thuggish Peter Weller lookalike. Now, this might sound like a minor detail, but it underscores the constant visual and performance identity he maintained.
A specific, recognizable aesthetic of danger.
Yes, that transcended the specific medium. He had mastered the art of looking like trouble was walking into the room.
But, to avoid painting a picture of total creative confinement, the sources do point out moments where he attempted some versatility. He took a turn towards dark comedy in the 1997 film Kiss and Tell.
And that move, that slight diversion, occurred under the direction of Jordan Allen, a filmmaker he collaborated with twice. After Kiss and Tell, they worked together on The Gentleman Bandit, which is also known as Gentleman B.
Okay.
And this collaboration is particularly fascinating, not just for the work itself, but because it really highlights the increasing difficulty of separating the professional craft from the personal struggles that were intensifying around that time.
And before we fully transition into those deeply personal details, we should probably mention his significant role as Deacon, Martin Lawrence's nemesis, in the 1999 action comedy Blue Streak.
That's a critical detail for his professional continuity. The source material reveals that the director, Jordan Allen, actually had to personally vouch for Greene to the producer, Tobe Jeffel.
He had to vouch for him. Why?
To ensure he got the role, even while Greene was known to be experiencing severe personal difficulties. That level of intervention tells us two things very clearly. First, his raw talent was so undeniable that professionals fought to keep him working.
And second,
that by this stage, his career was heavily reliant on professional support and goodwill to overcome the obstacles posed by his life outside of acting.
Right.
Now, connecting this professional trajectory back to the man himself, we have to delve into his early life and the considerable personal struggles that are documented in the sources. To really understand the origin of that raw, unflinching intensity he brought to those villainous roles, We need to acknowledge the challenging circumstances that molded him.
And we must approach this with factual clarity and the sensitivity that the subject deserves, given the profound difficulties involved. The sources confirm his origins. Born Peter Greene, October 8, 1965, in Montclair, New Jersey, and he grew up as one of 3 siblings.
However, the biographical details quickly pivot to a very turbulent, disruptive adolescence. The records confirm a detail that really speaks volumes about his early resilience and independence. He ran away from home at the incredibly young age of 15. 15. And following that dramatic break, he was homeless for a period of a few years.
To survive on the streets for years, starting as a teenager, that requires a degree of resourcefulness, self-reliance, sheer toughness that most of us just never have to contemplate. That level of formative hardship is a profound context for any later professional intensity, especially in roles that require a deep understanding of being an outsider or a threat.
Absolutely. And the fact that he didn't even start pursuing an acting career until his mid-20s, finally getting those initial roles in the early 1990s, it means he had already navigated years of significant life-defining struggle before he ever stepped onto a film set.
He wasn't drawing on acting classes for his grit.
No, he was drawing on lived experience.
And what's particularly illuminating and tragic is that the very period of his greatest professional success, that mid-90s time frame that gave us Zed and Doreen Tyrell, it overlapped directly with the height of his documented substance abuse issues.
The success and the personal crisis were happening at the exact same time. The records show he struggled intensely with heroin and cocaine addiction all through the 1990s.
This is where we see the direct material consequences. The sources don't shy away from detailing the specific toll this took on his ability to sustain his work, particularly during that collaboration we mentioned with director Jordan Allen on The Gentleman Bandit.
Right. That situation serves as a stark, concrete illustration of the gravity of his struggle and the chaos it created. We know that following arrests for drug-related crimes in 1998, Allen had to take these extraordinary, almost unprecedented measures during the filming.
What did he have to do?
He was compelled, out of professional necessity, to essentially put the actor through a period of mandatory rehab just to ensure the completion of the film and secure his performance.
So in the middle of a shoot.
In the middle of a shoot. And the chaos continued to escalate even then. The sources contain a remarkable and deeply sad anecdote. Allen at one point entered Greene's trailer and found him using heroin alongside another actor, Mike Starr.
Wow.
This isn't just a matter of difficult behavior. It speaks to the extreme grip the addiction had, overriding his professional obligations, his immediate physical safety.
And the severity of the addiction eventually damaged his primary instrument, his voice. The source material reveals that the drug abuse had caused vocal problems so severe, likely hoarseness, raspiness, and inability to maintain consistent delivery, that Allen was ultimately forced to make a drastic and very expensive decision.
That was that.
He had to replace Greene's voice entirely in post-production.
The entire voice track.
The whole thing.
This specific detail is critical because it moves past these general statements about drug problems, and it shows the direct, profound, quantifiable cost to the production and to his physical health. Replacing a lead actor's voice in post-production is a major financial and logistical hurdle. It underscores both the depth of his professional crisis and the remarkable commitment of the director to try and save the performance, despite these incredible obstacles.
And just stepping away from the career struggles for a moment, the records also confirm that Peter Greene had one son. This provides a brief but vital personal detail that reminds us of the life he was fighting to maintain outside of these very public battles. Despite the staggering, documented personal challenges, one of the most remarkable aspects of Peter Greene's narrative is his sheer professional resilience, his continued presence in the industry. The man never truly stopped working, even when the type of work available to him necessarily shifted.
That consistent character work is a testament to the fact that his specific talent for embodying menace and danger remained highly valuable. Even as the role shifted more towards supporting parts in episodic TV or direct-to-video films later in his career, his physical type was always in demand.
So if we examine his television work from the mid-2000s onward, we see a pattern of activity. He was a main cast member in that short-lived 2007 crime drama, The Black Donnellys.
Right.
He played a key member of the Boston Irish mob, a guy named Derek Timothy Dokie Farrell. And he maintained that high-end crime drama presence, also appearing as a recurring cast member on the American version of Life on Mars in 2009. He played Jimmy McManus.
And that work continued on into the 2010s, ensuring that viewers of modern procedural dramas remained familiar with his intense gaze and imposing presence. For instance, he took on a recurring role in Season 3 of Chicago PD in 2016 as Rory Jensen. And later, in 2020, he appeared in the legal drama For Life, where he accepted a small but very thematic role as Wild Bill Miller. And the records specifically note this character was an Aryan brother.
That progression is telling, isn't it? Even as he moved into smaller, episodic desk roles, he consistently occupied that space of danger, threat, marginalization, often portraying characters who are part of institutional or organized crime, reinforcing the public brand he'd established back in the 90s.
And what's fascinating is how active he was right up until his death. It demonstrates that the demand for his specific, authentic talents hadn't dried up. Just 2 years prior, in 2023, he appeared in the miniseries The Continental, from the world of John Wick.
Which is a huge franchise.
A very high-profile entry into one of modern cinema's biggest action franchises. He played the character Uncle Charlie. This shows his continued relevance to major studios seeking that specific kind of grounded threat.
And he also maintained a strong presence in independent and direct-to-video cinema. The records show him appearing in films like New York in 2016 and the 2018 film City of Lies, where he played Commander Fasulo.
And he also established a new recurring professional relationship, working on 2 films by director Eric Brian Hughes, Turnabout in 2016 and Exit Zero in 2019.
So even later in his career, he was still building these collaborations.
Yes. And if we look even further ahead, the source material confirms a strong pipeline of posthumous and upcoming work. It proves that his career was indeed ongoing at the time of his passing.
What was in the pipeline?
He had secured a role in an upcoming Mickey Rourke movie called Mascots. Furthermore, he was involved in at least 2 other projects that were in various stages of production.
And specifically, the film Clicker, in which he plays Lieutenant Jones, is listed as being in post-production. It's slated for a posthumous release sometime in 2026.
Right.
This confirms a really important point. He was actively securing new roles and engaged in the industry until the very end, demonstrating this immense professional tenacity despite the weight of his personal history.
There's an interesting, almost metatextual side note to his professional output, which the sources highlight. And that's his appearance in several music videos.
Oh, right.
And these roles often mirrored his established film persona, showing how consistently his look and demeanor were used as a shorthand for criminality or authority.
Yeah, they were direct extensions of his cinematic brand. In House of Pain's Fed Up video in 1996, he was cast as a mechanic, a rough, blue-collar kind of character. Years later, in 2008, he played a policeman in Prodigy and Mob Deep's video for ABC's. And then quite recently, in 2022, he played the authoritative big boss in R.A. the Rugged Man's Dragonfire.
So it confirms his visual brand just transcended the film industry. He became shorthand in popular culture for a specific kind of compelling danger.
Exactly.
Now we must address the facts surrounding his death, and we need to handle this information with the clarity and sensitivity it demands, reporting only the confirmed details that are available in the source material.
Peter Greene died on December 12, 2025. He was 60 years old. The records confirm he was found in his Lower East Side apartment in Manhattan, New York City.
And the details regarding the discovery of his body are specific. They're based on information provided by the neighbor who discovered him.
Okay. And what did the neighbor report?
The neighbor reported finding Greene lying on the floor, face down, facial injury, and blood. This level of detail, which is included in the sources, gives us the factual, tragic circumstances of his passing as they were recorded.
And there is a confirmed detail from the scene concerning a note that was found.
That is correct. The source material confirms the existence and the precise content of this note, which contained a very specific and highly charged claim. I'm still a Westie.
I'm still a Westie. So if we connect this to the broader picture of his life, what does the available context suggest about this final cryptic statement?
Well, the reference points towards a specific identity or association from his past. The context doesn't offer any further speculation on the deeper meaning of that statement or the ultimate cause of death, which is not confirmed in the material we have.
Right.
It simply reports the confirmed detail of the note's existence and its content. And it appears to be a powerful final statement regarding his sense of belonging or identity, possibly referencing a past association or street history that ties back to those challenging early years. We're strictly adhering to conveying only the information provided in the sources here.
Of course. So what does this all mean when we synthesize the life and the complex career of Peter Greene? We are left with this powerful dual narrative. The professional icon, a highly memorable character actor who specialized in raw menace, juxtaposed against the profound personal battles he fought, including a period of homelessness in his youth and years of severe documented addiction that so significantly impacted his professional life.
The contrast is stark, but it's also instructive. Here was an individual who, despite running away from home at 15 and navigating profound hardship, enters the acting world relatively late and is immediately seized upon by major directors. His intense, rapid successes, Dorian Tyrell and Zed, essentially defined the look and feel of cinematic menace for a generation of 1990s crime films.
He truly excelled in that difficult and specific role of the societal outsider and the visceral threat. His mere presence gave weight and authenticity to countless iconic crime films and dramas. Directors didn't need him to act like a villain.
They needed him to embody a recognized strain of danger.
Yeah.
And that's why his type endures, and why this story is so compelling. His performances, often fueled by a life with documented real-world hardship, resonated with an unsettling, raw authenticity that was just impossible to fake.
He didn't just play the heavy or the gangster.
No, he embodied the consequences of a life lived on the fringes. He was believable because he had survived it.
So if we look at the whole picture, the intense, defining early career, the deep personal struggles that constantly threatened to derail his work, and the sheer persistence that saw him continue acting right up until the end of 2025, it raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider further.
Indeed. We must reflect on how frequently Hollywood's casting of intense, authentic villains inadvertently draws on actors who have navigated profound real-life struggles like homelessness, poverty, addiction, to achieve that unsettling, genuine sense of danger.
And what does this reveal about the human cost?
Yes, exactly. What does this reveal about the human cost involved in translating that very real hardship into profitable on-screen intensity? It's a potent connection between life experience and art that is worth spending time mulling over.
A truly compelling point to reflect on as we remember Peter Greene's complex, enduring legacy.
Agreed.
Thanks for listening.